All right, what the heck is going on, my dudes? We're back here today with week 2 of Summer of Suffering. It is Moman, this guy. It is not Destroyer, despite what the text says. I forgot to change that one. It's also week 2. Just ignore that. Work with me a little bit here, all right? All right, so let's talk about this fight. It's a pretty simple fight at the end of the day. It's a little difficult because Moman has got that like short, heavy, and he is stun immune the entire time. There's also Tranquility, so all of your buffs and debuffs and power is going to be removed every 20 seconds or so. He has Bubble Shield, so watch out for those unblockables. This guy is very punishing, man. He's got a lot of attack. He's got those guaranteed crits in Frenzy. And if you remember that Purgatory boss in Act 7, where you only do like damage like during her special attacks, right? Like Human Torch, Piggy, Scorpion, all those champions with like the power stings and the massive damage over time. That's what this node is here. Now, Moman likes to purify, right? So those power stings could get a little interesting against him. You have to trigger Frenzy first. Now, keep in mind, he is immune to stun, so you can't use that to just make that go faster. There's also Spite. So you can use Spite to have him spam that special one over and over. That way he can enter Frenzy that much faster. That's a little key there to ramp this guy up. Now, with all that being said, the objectives are Mutant and Medium, Mystic and Offensive damage over time, and Science and Defensive utility. When you're looking at your tags, you have to keep in mind, well, not really going to happen too much this week because there's only one tag per class, but if it's like, for example, medium and offensive damage over time, you have to make sure you click all selected tags, not any selected tags. Otherwise, you're going to be seeing options that don't work for the fight, okay? That happens every single week. People are commenting like, oh, but what about this champion? This champion's a mutant, like, for example, Onslaught, right? He would be great for this fight. However, unfortunately, he doesn't work because he's not medium. He's a big boy. He's a big guy. All right. So let's start jumping in today for the top 10 options. The top 3 are really like a strong top 3, and the rest, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those fights where like the top options are the top options, man, and the other ones will be a little bit more of a struggle. So let's start jumping in. With number 10, we have a Werewolf by Night. Now, he's number 10. He does fit that Mystic and offensive damage over time. I saw Fintech took him down, and MSD took him down in about 10 to 15 minutes each, like 600 hits. Not the best option for the fight. However, a lot of people do have that Werewolf ranked up, right? So if you do have him, he absolutely can work for the fight. Those ruptures can be taking him down, but keep in mind, the higher the monster mass on Moman, the more physical resistance he's going to have, and all that rupture damage is physical resistance, all right? Number 9, we have Cassie Lang. Now, Cassie, in theory, would be amazing for this fight. However, I noticed that when I was holding my heavy, in order to get Moman to hit into me so I can gain more power stings, it wasn't really working too well. He wasn't really hitting into my miss, right? Now, Moman counters evade and auto block, and Cassie does have a miss, so she can work. If you haven't ranked up Cassie, give her a shot, right? She absolutely can work. If you don't have the other science champions ranked up, she's got the power stings. It just takes a little bit to get going. I'm sure I can get a good run with Cassie, but I ended up pivoting to somebody else for science that I found worked just a little bit better. But yeah, Cassie in theory has a lot of solid options for, or a lot of solid tools to take down this Moman. Moving on to number 8, we have Wiccan. Now, I didn't try Wiccan myself, but a couple people in chat were throwing this out there because he does have that passive, the passive Incinerate. Now, he does have the Shock on special too as well. One thing to keep in mind, Moman is immune to Shock. Now, with his Awakened ability on Wiccan, that Shock can turn into a degen, I believe. Or is that just against Cosmic Champions? It might just be against Cosmic Champions. But still, you have the Incinerate constantly on Moman, right? Now, during special attacks, it's going to increase all damage they take by 350%, and then they take a burst of damage at the end as well, right? So, it could be a long fight with Wiccan, but you have that constant energy damage going throughout the entire fight, so he could totally work if he's one of your only options there. Moving on, we have Weapon X for a mutant medium champion. Of course, Weapon X has all those bleeds, right? This node, he does have plus like 200% ability accuracy, so he should be shrugging all of those debuffs from the mutant champions as well, or at least a majority of them because of that. Now, once you enter Frenzy, this actually helps you because all those bleeds are going to be sticking. Obviously, you're going to be wanting to run deep wounds for this fight if you're looking to use Weapon X here, right? When he's using his special attacks, all those bleeds are going to be ticking like crazy, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage. Weapon X could be very solid for this fight. Plus, if you get hit, you're going to regen it back, which is really, really nice because, again, very punishing with the crits. Number 6, we have Joe Fixit, dude. I haven't seen anybody talking about Joe Fixit for this yet, but he has so many bleeds on that special one, dude. So all those bleeds can really, really add up, especially during those special attacks, those long special animations, right? I can see Joe doing really, really well, especially as a highly ranked 7-star if you happen to have one. Moving on, we have number 5, we have Iceman. During my stream, I had a few people coming in telling me they thought Iceman was bugged. Listen, you're more than welcome to try this. I tried it, it wasn't working for me. They said to eat a special 3 with the ice armor active, and then after that, spam special 1s, counter his special attacks with your heavy attack and the burst from the frostbite. We'll be doing a lot of damage. I don't personally think this is bugged. It might be. I'm going to look into that a little bit later. But I do believe you just have to line everything up perfectly. You have to line up the frostbite expiration with the heavy attack, right? You can go for your heavy attack to counter his special. If the frostbite expires on its own, right, that of course is going to do damage as well, but you want to line that up with his special attack. So there's a lot of stuff to look out for there, but he can definitely work, especially if you have a rank 5. Moving on to number 4, we have Void. Now Void just has that constant damage over time. However, you do have to keep in mind with Tranquility, he's not going to be the best for it, because of all of his debuffs getting removed. So he's a little high on the list. I should probably swap him with like Joe Fixit or with Wiccan or somebody like that. Again, it's just a little casual top 10 list to give you some options. Don't read too far into the placement for Void here because Tranquility is not going to be the best here, but you do have that debuff that can live on him permanently, which is really, really nice, opposed to most of these other champions have debuffs that can fall off, right? So that's one thing that could be really nice there. Moving on to number 3, we have Toad. Now the top 3 are really, really good for this fight. We have Toad, who's fantastic here, probably easily the best option for Mutant and Medium because we are against a skill purifier, and when a skill champion purifies his poisons, he's going to get the passive poison a certain amount of the time. I think it's like 70% of the time, and then during special attacks, each one of those poisons, the passive poison, is going to take off like 4 to 5% of his health. So I found Toad to be a really, really solid option here. I'm just spamming that special 1. Moving on to Kushala. Kushala was fantastic for this fight. There were lots of videos out there of Kushala versus the Small Man, so go and check out those if you haven't ranked up Kushala. She's very, very solid for the fight. She can block unblockable attacks, right? She has that regen on block as well, which is really great for how hard this guy hits into the block. She makes the opponent more aggressive, which is really great for needing to bait special attacks, and she has the passive Incinerate when awakened and also the active debuff as well, which you want to trigger after Frenzy. You also have the Soul Barb as well for all the buffs you place on him. Just really, really solid for the fight in general. And then finally, for number 1, we have the pig, Spider-Ham. It's his time to shine, man. So Spider-Ham, so good with the power sting. It's just kind of like take it slow, use your special 1, do your mediums, bait special 1 off this guy or the special 2. Once you trigger Frenzy, just keep being aggressive and keep placing those power stings on Mole Man, and eventually he will fall down, right down the toilet. And that is it for the top 10 list, man. The only one I think is a little debatable is Void for sure, just because of Tranquility. Just keep that in mind. But if you do happen to have a duped 7-star Void, he could potentially be solid for you here. That's Mole Man. Not the worst fight, man. Cost me a couple revives for sure, just because I wanted to get through it. Just having a fun time on stream, but I do believe any of these champions could possibly solo the fight, depending on your roster. So give it a shot. Let me know who you use in the comment section below, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the one in 2 weeks from now. I will be seeing you around.